Hello, my name is Kelsey Johnston, and today I'm going to talk to you about the successful sharing of digital information. In order to fully understand how to successfully share and receive digital information, we must look at the safety, legal, and ethical issues involved. I think probably one of the most important issues, in my opinion, is the safety, because oftentimes people have this false sense of security when they're sitting in front of a computer because there's no face-to-face contact. But you can still be the victim of a crime while you're going online, and so I think it's very important for us to understand the risk that we are getting ourselves into every time we log in. The first issue I'm going to talk about is cyberbullying. I think as educators, this is the most important aspect of information sharing that we should understand. Cyberbullying affects almost every school district in the country and probably in the world if technology is readily available. Most states force school districts to have a policy regarding bullying, but only 5 or 6 actually have a statute in there that deals with cyberbullying. And fortunately for us, Kansas is actually one of those states. So I went online and found it. Statute 72-8256 in regarding to school district policies defines cyberbullying as the use of any electronic communication device through means including, but not limited to, email, instant message, text messages, blogs, mobile phones, pagers, online games, and websites. This statute requires that each school board in every county and every school district come up with a plausible policy in regards to cyberbullying. In order to fully understand the psychological damage that is done to students through cyberbullying, I went ahead and found a YouTube video of a girl from England. She has a little bit of an accent, so sometimes she's a little bit hard to understand, but I just think that it's important to see how it really affects a real student. So let's go ahead and watch this.
It started over a basketball match when I was in year 8, and from that day this girl decided she didn't like me. It went on to like physical, mental, she followed me around, beat me up, get other people involved, spread rumours, and then went on into the internet and threatening to stab me. Whenever they saw me, something would happen. They would kick me, punch me, throw each other onto me, get people to come and just kick me randomly. I was almost put in hospital because they kept banging my head into concrete, and I was just like black eyes, everything. Online they just made it more violent and just threats, It was basically the same stuff they're saying, but then they added the threats as well. I think it's your own home as well. You think, oh yeah, you're safe in your own home. And to get, abuse and stuff at home, you think, oh, there you go, can't get away from it. So, yeah, for it to be longer, it could be any time and anywhere. Basically left me depressed, sad, I didn't want to go out. I just wanted to stay by myself. I was upset, I was angry, and I got frustrated because nothing's been done. So basically these emotions and want to do by yourself. I basically kept talking to them because I thought the more they say, the more evidence I've got. I saved it and printed a copy off, and eventually we took a copy to the police, so then they could track it back and find out who it was. And the police issued harassment orders against the 2 girls, which meant they couldn't contact me or come near me at all. The main one, she's not changed, she's still in the streets, hanging around with wrong people, doing whatever. But the other girl, she did actually apologise to me, come to apologise to me. I don't worry now, because obviously I do my judo, so I know that I could protect myself from any physical thing, and if anybody sort of started on me, I would, know what to do straight away. I wouldn't let them do it. I'd let them know that it's not acceptable, and I'd have the backing of bullying and parents and stuff, because I'm not going through what they think they're doing. I refuse to.
Okay, so as you can see, it really affects students psychologically, and as teachers, we should be caring towards our students and do whatever we can to try and protect them. I think I watched a few other YouTube videos, and kind of a similar theme was that, oh, the adults in my life, they just kind of kept pushing it off, like those kids are just joking around, that's just a joke, they're just teasing. I think maybe in some cases the kids really are just teasing, but sometimes that can make things worse, and it can start turning into a serious issue. And so I think as teachers we should be looking for that type of behavior and nipping it in the bud so that a student doesn't have to go through serious psychological trauma and possibly become suicidal. Some of the requirements that Kansas has put in place in order to write a policy for cyberbullying are to, one, educate students and faculty to what cyberbullying actually is, because maybe if you're not aware of what it is, you'll do it, or a teacher will see it and not even know. Number two, provide adequate supervision when using any type of technology or in the computer labs or something like that, just making sure that you have a staff member in there, just monitoring what the children are doing while they're using the technology. Three, establish ways to report cyberbullying, and I think it's important that they be anonymous, because perhaps if you know that something is going on but you're afraid that it will happen to you if you tell, you're obviously not going to tell, and nothing can be done about the situation. So just kind of making a safe way for students to be able to report any misbehavior online is important. And then also, this is just me, but I think it's really important as an educator, parent, or even just a caregiver to really make the consequences clear for what that action will be, whether it's suspension or ISS or something like that, and being very consistent with it. If there is a report of cyberbullying and it's confirmed, then you need to go through with that punishment regardless of who the offenders are or anything like that. Just be very consistent. Okay, now I'm going to talk about online predators. This is another important issue for people who will be in charge of minors. Online predators generally meet people in chat rooms or in online games such as Xbox Live or something like that. Generally, they'll pretend to be the same age as the student that's on the chat room or the game, or they will talk about having the same interests and really create this bond and this sense of trust before they start trying to pry for personal information such as the child's location, the child's telephone number, or even pushing for a meeting in real life. And obviously, if the child meets the predator in real life, that's where the real danger happens. And so I think the best way to prevent this is to avoid it altogether. So grandparents, parents, teachers, babysitters, any type of supervisor needs to be aware of what the child in their care is up to online. They need to be going into the room with the child on the computer or on the Xbox or something like that, and regularly checking and saying, hey, what website are you on? Who are you talking to? It also wouldn't hurt to look yourself, because a child is capable of lying. And so yeah, I would just really suggest to be very active in the child that you're responsible for. Be very active in their online activity with them. And so that way you can really just weed out any creepy people that they're talking to and just completely avoid that danger altogether. Now I'm going to talk about online theft. This is a pretty common form of online crime, and it can range anywhere from as serious as identity theft, which takes forever to get everything, to get all of your papers and your bank accounts and your credit card numbers and things changed and and to regain your credit and things. And so if you could avoid that at all, I would definitely suggest that. And also, it could be something as little as on eBay, somebody telling you that you're making you think that you're getting this great deal, and then when your product comes in the mail, it's something completely different. A couple of tips to avoid having your information stolen online is to make sure that any sensitive information, such as your address or your credit card number or social security number especially, if you're going to give those sites that type of information out, then the website needs to be very secure. And a way that you can tell is if there is an http:// at the beginning of the URL. You also need to be sure that your web browser, whether it's Internet Explorer or Firefox or something like that, make sure that it's at the latest version, so that way it can weed out any kind of bugs or phishing things. And then the third thing is to purchase an antivirus program. On my computer I have Norton, and it runs a little bit on the pricey side, but it's definitely cheaper than having my identity stolen or having to buy a new computer because of all the viruses that I would probably pick up. And so yes, if you haven't bought that, I would suggest it. Now let's talk about the legal sharing of information. According to dictionary.com, a copyright is the exclusive right to make copies, license, and otherwise exploit a literary, musical, or artistic work, whether printed, audio, video, etc. Works granted such right by law on or after January 1st, 1978 are protected for the lifetime of the author, created for a period of 50 years after his death. So anyway, some works aren't going to have a copyright. For instance, this presentation I have shared online freely, and so anybody can use my information. But you need to be careful, and if there is a copyright, you need to be careful to only use limited amounts of the work that's copyrighted, and also you need to cite that source in your work. Plagiarism is basically the same thing, just making sure that your students really understand that their papers and their presentations and projects all have to be their own ideas, and if they do borrow a little bit of ideas from an expert or something, then those need to be cited and reworded if at all possible. So, and I put this cartoon in there because I thought it was pretty cute. So, okay, and lastly we'll talk about the ethical issues. Really the only ethical issue that I found very relevant was the concept of file sharing. I do that sometimes with music from iTunes, and so that one gets it's kind of like a gray area. A lot of times I will share my music files with friends, or they will share it with me. It's not technically stealing, but it's still a little bit I don't know, questionable. And so I'm pretty sure that iTunes has it to where you can share your purchased information with 3 other devices before it becomes illegal. So I think just being educators, it's important to be a good role model and a good example for your students. So it's important to know what's okay to use and what isn't. And so if Apple only allows 3 sharings of a song, then we should probably only use the 3 that they allow, and make sure that our students understand that as well. So that is my presentation on successfully sharing digital information. Thank you for listening.